Welcome to the video for Lesson 6 of the Turn the Lights On curriculum. Now that students have learned about the different power generating plants, it's time to reflect on the environmental impacts they may cause on the ecosystems. Students will evaluate and modify the previous prototype based on minimizing their environmental impact to meet the client's requirement. In this video, we will go step by step through the lesson. For details about the activities, you may want to check the activity video for Lesson 6. At the end of this lesson, students will be able to evaluate their electric power generating systems according to the physical and biological impacts upon the biodiversity of nearby ecosystems. They will also be able to use a model to test their electrical power generating system and determine how well it meets criteria and constraints. And finally, they should be able to reflect on how the engineering and their own decisions impact the environment. So this lesson requires two 50-minute class periods. Let's get started with the introduction of this lesson. The main concept in this lesson is the environmental impacts that a power generating plant may cause. Students learn how to evaluate competing design solutions for maintaining biodiversity and ecosystem services using a systematic process. However, in addition to this, they will also determine how well their design meets the criteria and constraints of the problem. Another important thing in this lesson is the ability of designing solutions to their engineering problem. For that, students need to reflect on the impact of the power generating system. They will review where each power generating plant is located in the map to determine how to reduce the negative environmental impact. But before starting the lesson, it's important that you watch the videos which are in the links provided below. The construction and operation of any electrical generating power plant will not only cause impacts on the environment and citizens of the area, but such intervention will also drastically alter the landscape and consequently the ecosystem. These impacts tend to be permanent in nature and can result in causing real distress for life depending upon the fragile balance in the region. We are also providing in the curriculum document informative links that you may want to check to prepare for the lesson. Now let's connect these science concepts with the engineering problem. It is essential to show students that sometimes engineers need to work as scientists to better understand the problem. Not all the problems an engineer needs to solve are familiar to them. There are times when they need to go beyond in order to understand all the implications to be able to develop an effective solution. Thus, you can introduce the lesson by asking them if they know the difference between working as an engineer and working as a scientist. After listening to their answers, explain that engineers tend to focus on solving problems for a client and considering an end user. In contrast, scientists tend to focus on understanding the world, producing discoveries that may or may not have direct applications. Then, tell them that they will start to design a solution to the engineering problem and ask them to remind you what the engineering problem is about. Use the engineering design process poster and the student's version of the slider to help them identify what they have done so far and what steps they are currently on. Review what they have learned so far. Remind them about the scientific principles of the 4 power generating plants that they can use in their system. Emphasize that they can always go back to define and learn more about the problem or background information. You can point to arrows on the poster that show going back to previous steps. Tell them that they will move on to the next steps in this lesson, which are plan, try, and test. Before continuing to work on their prototypes, it's important that you review the concepts of ecosystems, physical components, and biological components. For that, open a discussion by asking them how they know if their design negatively affects the environment. Connect this discussion with the concept of biodiversity, and finally, tie it into the impact of the power generators on the ecosystems and biodiversity. You can find more details for this activity in the Lesson 6 activity video below. Now it's time for the students to set the prototype and verify the generated electrical power. They will replicate the prototype that they proposed in Lesson 2. They are going to work on Worksheet 6A to calculate the total power generated by their design. Then, they will review the location of each power generating plant to determine how to reduce the impact on the environment. Some examples of ways to reduce the negative impact of the plants are presented in the curriculum document. After the students have reflected about the impact on the ecosystems and modified their prototype, it is time to work on the design recommendations that will help them reduce the negative impact of the power generating plants. This is the Environmental Impact Assessment Sheet. Use the Environmental Impact rubric to evaluate the student's reflection based on your conversation with them in the Environmental Impact Assessment Sheet. Now, let's take a look at the worksheets that will support the students' learning during the lesson. Take some time to check each of the worksheets and also the answer sheet and rubric. In this activity, students will calculate the total power generated by their design. It should be 280 megawatts or higher. To do so, they will replicate their prototype from Lesson 2 by using the maps and the models of the generating plants. When they calculate the power, they will be able to verify if their design meets the power needs of the grid. To get the total power, they need to multiply the power of each unit times the number of generators that they have placed in their prototype. Then, students will add all the individual power to have the total electrical power of the system. You can find possible answers in the 6A worksheet, Possible Answers, attached in the curriculum for Lesson 6. In Worksheet 6B, students will fill out the table with the information about how they integrate each design recommendation into their design. Use the rubric provided in the curriculum document to help you assess students' work. The rubric is organized in a way that you will have assessment information for each criteria. You will find possible answers in the 6B worksheet, Possible Answers, which is attached in the curriculum for Lesson 6. In closure, at the end of the activities, take pictures of students' second prototype and keep the final Worksheet 6A for the next lessons. Use the Environmental Impact rubric to assess the students' performance on Worksheet 6B and their overall learning of the lesson objectives. Review with the full class what they did in this lesson. Ask questions like, why is it important to reduce the environmental impact of our system? And how will we determine that impact? Review the concepts and finally reflect by asking them what they learned in this lesson, how they could apply what they learned in their daily life, and what they need to do to improve their design. Now take some time to plan for how you will implement Lesson 6. Take notes in your curriculum document about things you want to remember, and perhaps add some information about timestamps from this video that may help you later when you want to review. When you are ready, proceed to the Lesson 7 video.